This is episode number 512 of the Health and Fitness Podcast, brought to you by InnerFight in association with Smith Street Paleo. Be sure to hop over to smithstreetpaleo.com and get all of your paleo goods delivered to you, either on a meal plan or as you wish from the menu over there. Hey folks, I'm super excited about this show. I actually read a book about Spartan racing by the guy behind Spartan, Joe DeCina, quite a few years ago. So to have on today's show the new coach that we have here, George Crewe, who is going to be coaching OCR through our brand, through InnerFight, and trying to get people involved in OCR racing, helping people that have already found OCR, obstacle course racing, is absolutely awesome. Joe DeCina's book is an absolute must-read. We speak about it in the show, and I've also linked up in the show notes. Another thing that is really interesting is a show that was on Emirates recently for a long time, also maybe on Netflix. It's called Rise of the Sufferfest. So if you like this show, there are two resources you're really going to want to get into. Great show here with George, our new OCR coach, and as always, my co-host, Andre. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another edition of the show. Dre, we actually, mate, Open's finished, but we need to do Open show next week.
Yes.
Because the leaderboard is not quite finalized.
It'll be finalized on Wednesday, and then it will be finally finalized, I think, like 3 weeks later, because they need to verify videos.
So this week's show is not about the Open, but next week's show definitely will be. Mate, this week's show is all about OCR.
Yep, we have expanded the coaching team.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Massive rise, which we're going to hear about in OCR, which is obstacle course racing.
Yep.
Which you knew.
Of course.
Of course you did. And who better to bring on the show to talk about this? The new InnerFight coach of OCR, George Crewe. George, welcome.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, mate. Mate, tell us, obstacle course racing, what is it? Let's define it to start with.
I would say it's basically like having a big playground for adults.
Yeah.
That's the best description. It can be tough. It can be pretty grueling when you're out there, especially for the longer distance races. When you're out there carrying something like a sandbag mid-race, it can be pretty brutal. But yeah, so it fits in between the kind of endurance side of things, but you also need that strength. So it's something that fits nicely within a fight in between CrossFit and the endurance team.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen lots of that, mate. Did you do one?
Yeah, recently at one of the CrossFit sanctional events, the first day was actually only obstacle course racing, and there was 2 different obstacle courses. So
really? And you were first.
And you weren't,
yeah. I don't know how.
Different level.
It's before I even met George. Imagine now.
Imagine now how good you'd be.
But it's quite interesting to see how OCR has come a part of CrossFit, and also how CrossFit is sort of a part of OCR already, right? Like, there's a lot of crossover from there, and yeah, it's a really good test of fitness.
Let's talk about a little bit, George, where, I think, obviously we can chuck different brands out there. We've got Spartan, we've got Tough Mudder, we've got a load. But before we get to those, mate, where did obstacle course racing really start?
So it actually started my home ground in the UK. The first ever obstacle race was something called Toughest. Sorry, no, not Toughest. Tough Guy.
Tough Guy, yeah.
Tough Guy. They do it on the last weekend of January every year when it's freezing cold. They'll send you through like frozen up lakes. A strange guy called Mr. Mouse. He started it. Didn't use social media. Didn't know about Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. Then jumped on board was Tough Mudder and Spartan Race, and they were the guys who actually jumped on it and started to make the money.
Super interesting documentary, which was actually on Emirates for almost a year.
Rise of the Sufferfest.
Rise of the Sufferfest, and you see it?
No, I haven't.
It interviewed this guy because obviously, I mean, between 2016, I think, really we saw a massive increase in the number of obstacle course races, and this guy is, like George said, he's so old school. Everything was by direct mail. You get like letters, but he was just like, no, I started it, and literally, I mean, January in the UK,
freezing cold.
Some of the obstacles, mate, were just like you had to go through ice ponds and all this stuff.
If you're in first place, you're breaking the ice. Like that's it. They don't break it for you. If you're in first, you're getting in and breaking that ice. So you don't want to be first in that race to start off.
And mate, the footage. If you haven't watched it, folks, go and watch Rise of the Sufferfest. I get, is it on Netflix or on YouTube or something now, mate?
I don't think it's on Netflix anymore.
Okay.
It was definitely it was on Emirates. That's why I saw it about 5 times.
Yeah, plenty. But I mean, this guy's just wild. And in this documentary, you've literally got people that have, like, weekend warriors that have just gone and taken on the course, and they're in the showers, literally hypothermic.
Yeah.
They're half dying, and he's just laughing. This Mr. Mouse, isn't he?
Yeah, the guy you saw him hovering over the fire, James Appleby or James Appleton or something.
Yeah,
he's there shivering, hovering over some fireplace, and for some reason he keeps going back every year and doing the same race. He says each year, "I'm not going to do it," and he goes.
And what is it about that? Like,
It's
why would someone do that?
It's an addictive
Right?
sport. I guess it's similar to CrossFit, right?
Yeah,
You must be in a pain cave.
I totally get it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for some of the listeners that might be thinking, why would you do that?
Yeah.
What's the
I
reason?
think that sometimes.
What's your thoughts on that, George? Like, why are people? Because essentially, it is like CrossFit. Like, you do benchmark workout, you do Fran, you feel awful, and you're in a hole on the floor and a heap on the floor. So what is it, mate, when it comes to obstacle course racing? Let's compare notes and see if it's the same.
So your question, what is it that makes you keep going back?
What makes people go back? Like, what makes people, when, like, go through that ice, and these guys are in the shower on Rise of the Sufferfest, freezing cold, mate.
Yeah.
What makes them thaw out a bit and go, I want to do it again?
I think Spartan have a nice slogan. They say you'll know at the finish line, and until you've done one, it's kind of hard to explain. But once you just jump in and get one done, you do know at the finish line. Like, it's a really cool. I think that's a really cool slogan to have.
It's just like CrossFit.
Yeah. I remember my first Spartan race, and I knew, trust me, like, and that was I didn't do well at all. But as soon as I got to the finish line, you just know, like, and you just keep going back. When's the next race? I'm signing up, and it just gets really addictive. You end up booking races left, right, and centre, and then you have to calm down a bit. But no, it's that feeling of being a warrior, being some sort of like Roman. We've seen the film 300.
Primal,
right?
Yeah. Now, talking about 300, mate, that's kind of where a lot of this, where the more commercial side. The first one in the UK by Mr. Mouse, approximately when did that start? Do we know?
I can't actually remember the year. No, I think it was around 2010.
Okay.
Might be wrong.
So it's not... So we're within the last 10 or 15 years.
It's a young sport.
Yeah.
It's a young sport. What were the next steps, and how do we... I mean, we're going to talk to where we've got to today, but how did the sport start coming up from there?
Like I say, the guy who owns Tough Mudder, he basically found out about this tough guy race. Decided to jump on it. Realised actually this could probably make some money. People are enjoying this. Why is there so many people turning up for this race and paying money to go run around a field, swim through lakes, and climb over fences? Realised actually we can make some money about it. Then jumped on the CEO of Spartan, Joe DeSena. He mixed it up a bit and went with the whole 300, which is the movie with Gerard Butler in. So that's where Spartan came about. He decided to throw some logs and some fuel on the floor, light it, and make that the finish line. So a fire jump, so you do feel like that warrior. Then it's just grown from there, really. Obstacles have got more technical, a bit more difficult, and it's just grown into a sport. Now there's professionals doing it. There's guys who are full-time OCR athletes. So.
Joe DeSena, who you mentioned, I'll put a link to this in the show notes, as well as a link if I can find Rise of the Sufferfest. So, folks, if you're looking for that, head over to innerfight.com/podcast512. I'll put links to both of these. But Joe DeSena wrote a really good book called Spartan Up.
Yeah, Spartan Up. Yeah.
I think that's
awesome,
that's definitely worth a read for a lot of people. And but I think that his started quite naturally as well, mate, because wasn't it on a... Didn't he have a bit of space out in the country?
Yeah, he did. He actually started something called Death Race.
The Death Race, that's it, yeah. Talk to us about that, because there's different levels of races that he introduced, right?
Yeah, so he did... I think Death Race was one of his first ones, and that is basically like a 24-hour race that you feel like you're going to die. I think you have to be now selected for it. You can't just go and enter. So you've got to have proven yourself that you can cope with that sort of stuff. And then, you can go in, and it's a sort of... It's a bit of a mind game, really. It's not just endurance. It's he'll make you turn up in tuxedos and take a briefcase with you, and then take you on a bus and kick you out halfway, and you've got to find your way to the venue, like that sort of stuff, just to screw you up in the head.
There's no mate, have you not heard of it? No. It's flipping wild. There's no official start time. You just have to be like George says. You have to be here on this day at this time for registration, and so you'll sit around and you have to be you know, like you said, wearing certain stuff or whatever. And then suddenly they'll say, okay, you're going to get in a bus and they'll drive you somewhere, drop you off.
Mate, my question is, why have you not signed up for
I'm
any of these things? Like, this sounds like you.
I don't know. I think most of the death races are in America, aren't they?
Yeah, they all are.
And there's no finish line. The finish...
It's just like, they'll say just that you get to this stage and this is the finish line. I think if you, in that book, in the Spartan Up book, they refer to it quite a lot at the start of the book, and they say some guys they're that like zone that they're trying to stop him, they're trying to kick him out of the race, saying, no, you're out, you're done. He's like, no, I'm not. And he thinks that's still part of the race. He thinks this guy's trying to play with his mind, kick him out of the race, and he's not. So he carries on going. Yeah,
there's no end to the races. So, like, in the book, Joe DeCina talks about, like, he basically decides when the race is finished.
Yeah.
And he decides who wins. So, like George is saying, they're telling the guys the race is over, and they're like, no, we don't believe you.
Yeah, they think they're still in the race.
Yeah. So there's no official start and there's no official end. If he thinks that he's tested you enough, then he'll stop the race and he'll say, you're all good, we're done, and you're the winner, or they'll just keep going till whenever. It's an amazing book.
Sounds completely normal to me.
Yeah, it's completely normal.
they have some. So Spartan have some races. This is why Spartan are being the most successful at the moment, I would say, especially like globally, because they've got your entry level race, which is a sprint, so nice and short. You've got your open runners come in, try it out. But you do
how far is this?
That's around 5k.
Okay.
Yeah, 5k. They've just changed the rules, I believe, this year. So now 5k is going to be the sprint is going to be set to 5, and as you go on, it's going to have the set distances, because it didn't used to be like that.
How many obstacles can you expect on a 5k race? Because I mean, 5k run or 5k Spartan, I bet that's completely different.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you need the run in there to get on well, but in a Spartan, there'll be 20 obstacles. In a Spartan sprint, 20 obstacles. That's what you can expect.
Okay.
And that's, I think something you just said there, mate, is quite important, that there's somehow now like a standard coming in, so that people can benchmark and
train for it as well.
They can train a little bit more for it. So you've got a 5k sprint. Then what else can people expect?
Next distance up with Spartan is 12 to 13, and then you've got that's what's called a super. And then the one on from that is a beast, which is 20 to 21k, which will be, the difficulty level is actually going up as well. So the further distance, the more technical obstacles, the more difficult obstacles they'll include as well. That's only Spartan specific.
When you have like a 21k race, again, would it be standard number of obstacles? So every 21k race will have...
the minimum would be 40. I think it's 40 in the beast,
Wow.
Then you've got... from that, you've got an Ultra Beast, which is basically 2 laps of the same course, and they'll add an additional 8k area where you'll go and do an additional maybe 5-6 obstacles. That's not my sort of thing.
Bit too long?
Yeah, a bit too long for me.
So, mate, we've spoken about Spartan. A lot of people would know Spartan because of Joe DeCina, and it's one of the biggest brands. What other obstacle course races are up and coming would people know?
So Tough Mudder, that's probably the rival of Spartan. It's not been getting on too well this past year. They've actually just stopped paying their athletes prize money, which is quite a big thing. We'll come into that a bit later. But you've got Tough Mudder, you've got OCR World Championships, which is kind of its own thing, so you can qualify for that through Spartan races, through elite other races. There's only a set.
Is that like the over organization and the other ones kind of work for it, or is it a complete separate thing?
It's a separate thing, but you qualify through the others for that.
Okay,
like out here, you've probably heard of Desert Warrior Challenge.
Yeah. So
I think that is a OCR World Championship qualifier. So if you finish in the top 3, you can qualify for that race.
Wow.
Okay. There's a lot of small races popping up. The one happened this weekend, Old School Challenge. I'm not sure it's. I did it last year. It wasn't the best organised race, but again, it's a young sport. The organisers are learning. But then you've got the big daddies like Spartan, Tough Mudder. They kind of hit the nail on the head every time.
Yeah.
Things like Desert Warrior, Nas Night Challenge out here during Ramadan we have. That's done at night, lit up course, sandy course. That's 5k as well.
Yeah.
There are a lot of the smaller ones, like people are throwing up 5k courses everywhere now because it's nice and easy, nice and short. You've got in the UK, you've got things like nuclear races. They do things like rat race, things like that, like big races.
But I think still the main ones, like you said, mate, is sort of Spartan have cornered the market a little bit.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We'll go on and talk about the professional athletes because I think that's super interesting. But before we do that, mate, tell us, we've spoken about leaders breaking the ice, we've spoken about a little bit of running, but for the novice, what would a 5k OCR event consist of?
So you can expect things like big tall fences to climb over. You'll be carrying heavy sandbags around, swinging on things like monkey bars, doing a rope climb. So these are the sort of things you can expect in your simple sort of 5K entry level obstacle race.
Yep.
Expect to get muddy, rolling hills. You're going to be sometimes they'll include a small swim. You'll be crawling through dirt under barbed wire, that sort of stuff. And then obviously if you're doing a Spartan, then you will be jumping over fire as well.
That's cool. Actually, we did a course, you and me and Phil, where we won a 5K one.
That's what I'm trying to think of what it was.
What was that called?
I don't know.
Did you jump fire at the end? If you
no,
did,
that was in Q8. There's a race there.
Battle of the East.
Yeah, but it starts with
it's
the Saracen race.
This is a CrossFit event, right?
It's a CrossFit event
with obstacle course on it.
Yeah, but
you could sign up for the Saracen race by itself.
Yeah,
and race that.
The next day was like a full OCR race, and they just used the course the day before. We won it, didn't we? It was as teams of 3.
Yeah. There you go then.
Yeah. So we've actually you've won 2 obstacle course races. And I've won 1.
You were carrying the team quite. Like, me and Phil were like, wait.
100% record there. That's it. Done.
Exactly. So, but, mate, a big part of it, obviously, is running.
Yeah, definitely. 90%. 90% of it's running.
So, but how many obstacles in a 5K course?
But in a Spartan, 20. Around 20.
Okay. So, still, you've got one every few hundred meters, basically.
What you'll tend to find in a Spartan race, they'll have a few, because you won't realise you've just done, in the first, say, 500 metres, you'll have done 5 obstacles. You've done a wall, then a wall, then a wall. But you would picture that as one obstacle, but it's not. Each one is classed as an obstacle.
Right.
So there's 5 done already. So you'll normally have like a gauntlet of obstacles at the start, a few spread out, and then typically at the end of a race, normally they put those together. You'll get like eight together back to back.
And will they purposely put like long running sections in?
Yeah, especially with the longer stuff, like something like a beast. Definitely, you're out there. You look around. No one's around you. You're just on a course with a bit of Spartan tape, but similar to what you'd be doing on an ultra.
Yeah.
So you can find yourself in the middle of nowhere. You won't even be able to see an obstacle as long as you keep following that course, and then until the next one. So it's pretty cool. Like you've got to be a good runner to be good at it.
So training for this, obviously, running is one big part of it.
Yeah.
The other parts, what is required to get through all of these obstacles that we haven't really covered? There's been over fences, under things. We know there's some hanging work, some swinging.
Yeah.
What are the things that you're going to be training the people who come to InnerFight for the obstacle race training?
Yeah,
what would that look like?
Okay, so there's 3 key things to obstacle racing. Typically is running is the majority.
Yeah.
You need to have good grip strength, so you need to have confidence with that, being able to swing on things, and even carrying. Like you need to have good grip strength to carry, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is carrying. You need to be able to carry heavy objects, sandbags, buckets.
So like strongman stuff.
Yeah, strongman style stuff. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there's agility. You need to be able to crawl and climb over things as well.
So when you say you need to be able to carry something, mate, give us a little bit of a clearer picture. I'm running through this course, through the desert, through the sand. I've just done 400 meters. I get to the obstacle. What am I carrying? How far do I have to carry it?
So you'd arrive at, say, if it was a Spartan race, we keep referring to Spartan because it is the biggest.
Yeah, it's easiest. Yeah,
it's easiest. So there'll be a big box full of sandbags. You'll have male and female weights. You grab your 60-pound sandbag, chuck it on your shoulder, and you'll have like a 4... It depends. I've done carries in the UK, double tyre carry, which was 1K, carrying 2 tyres for 1K, which killed me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the longest carries I've ever seen. But no, typically you'll just find a box full of whatever weight you've got to take, so whatever your carry is, take it. And typically you're looking at around 500 metres, maybe 500 metres.
So
but normally
decent.
it wouldn't just be flat. Like if you can see a big sand dune in the distance, expect the carry to be at the bottom of that, and you'll be going up and back over it.
Wow.
Like, they won't just give you like a flat area to carry. You get drags as well. I think you'll be dragging like heavy logs, and you get big tyre flips as well. So in Spartan race you've got to flip a tyre. Well, in the US it's because it's a really heavy tyre, you just go there and back. Out here and in the UK it's 6 flips, so you've got to flip it 3 times out, 3 times back, and then off you go. So, and then there's volunteers and there's referees at each station, there's GoPros at each station. And in the Spartan race, if you do fail any obstacle, depending on what it is, some obstacles you have to complete. So things like walls and carries, they're unfailable obstacles. You can't fail them, else you're disqualified. So you've got to crack on with it. But things like monkey bars, if you slip off, then it's 30 burpees, which can be a bit of a pain.
Wow. Yeah. So it's actually very similar to a lot of the stuff that, I mean, people laugh at us when we say take a med ball and run 400 meters or run 800 meters, but we've just secretly been preparing people for Spartan races for our whole lives. But it's super simple. That's where there's a lot of crossover. Mate, is it all the weights? Because I've seen on courses, like, you go up to those sandbags and like it looks like some are lighter than the others. Is it standardized, or does that really happen?
No, it does. They're not all. They should be standardized. All the weights should be standardized. I've seen pros in the US before, like one guy, Robert Killian. He's part of the Spartan Pro team. He picked up a sandbag and it had a hole in it, but he didn't know, and he's not going to stop and put it back and I'll take a heavy one now. He just carried on running. He was running and the sand's emptying, but he didn't get disqualified because that was actually down to the staff, the build crew. That's their fault.
Wow.
So yeah.
Can you imagine? That happening in CrossFit?
No. Well, it's like, in CrossFit when they get on the bikes and one of the bikes break.
Yeah.
And
what happens?
Then you have to run to the support crew to give you a new bike, but that's just, unfortunately, your own fault.
Really?
Yeah, like they're not going to give you extra time or deduct time. It's just like, your chain fell off, too bad.
That is what it is.
That's what happened to like Patrick Whelan and Noah Olsen last year at the games. Like, those two were going in to probably potentially win the games.
Yeah.
Day one, they start with like one of the worst place finishes in the first event because the chain jumped off and like Noah Olsen's bike just broke.
Yeah.
They had to carry it on their shoulder,
I remember that.
like 200 meters to get a new bike. You lose like 5 minutes, you're done.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because I know, mate, in bike racing, obviously, if you're in the Tour de France and you puncture, then you definitely have to deal with it. But I don't know. I see it. Yeah, it's difficult because what should the rule actually be? Should it be, if you're... What else can happen in CrossFit, though? Yeah, your machine can break.
Yeah, not many things. Like, that's why they take away those things. Like, your assault bike cannot turn on, or this can happen, or this can happen. And it's hard to standardize everything, but I think if you find, like, really good equipment brands that, are pretty bulletproof, that's where you can keep the sport safe. And it is difficult, and I can imagine it's super difficult in your sport as well, and especially in both of our sport, which are young. I think with time they're going to find ways to, to not make these mistakes. Like make sure those sandbags are like professionally weighed and made by like a proper company and not just like some homemade stuff.
I think that's part of the thing from CrossFit and also from Spartan that's made it come up quite fast because the events are quite raw. So, there's just been a load of sort of old cement bags. Someone put sand in them a few hours before the race started, and we've tried to put some cable ties around it, but if it's split, it's split. Yeah. But I guess when it moves to a more professional sport, we have to have that sort of standardization. Yeah. Mate, talking about the standardization, do Spartan have, will those 20 obstacles, are they the same? Talk us, we've heard about carrying tire flips and stuff. Talk us through some of the grip tests. Are they same events or are they different? How does that all go?
Yeah, so it's down to that specific race organizer. So like out here at Spartan Arabia, so every country's got its set obstacles, and in Spartan race, for instance, they'll have their own name. So each obstacle's got a name, and kind of if I said to somebody who knows Spartan, how did you get on the twister, they'd know. Same for CrossFit. If you, I don't know CrossFit workouts, but if you was to mention a workout, like how did you do in it, and if someone said, I did it in this time, you're like, that's a great time, because you'd know.
Right.
If I said I went on the twister and I went backwards, like, I go sideways, like you would know. So there's all there's plenty of obstacles that are the same. In the US, they have some the newer ones coming out. They seem to get them first, obviously, because that's where Spartan HQ is. And then Europe seem to make it a little bit more difficult with grip. They seem to be very, very grip heavy in Europe. So
really? So the races are kind of different in the different parts of the world. That's interesting.
They've got the same baseline, but it's down to the race organizer if they want to make it a bit harder or easier. It depends on I guess it depends on their clients, the people who are actually coming to race. If they're getting feedback to say these races are too difficult, I can't compete anything, I just keep doing burpees and it's a run burpee race, then there's no point, right? So they want to feel like they've actually accomplished something by conquering each obstacle. So they might just tune it down a little bit. And so just to understand how it's set up here, mate, Spartan Arabia, so that's almost like a franchise of Spartan. Spartan race, yeah.
So they design the races, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a race director here. He'll design the course. And then there's another guy called Thomas Blanc. He's a French guy, comes over from Europe. He's employed by Spartan HQ, so head office. He'll come and help out design the course as well. So they're kind of like tag team, but do it together. So.
That's interesting. Just to be funny if Castro Has he been to any of the sanctionals? Does he still work for CrossFit, or is that a different podcast?
I think that's going to be a different podcast, but I do think that Castro's going to get involved again. But I think the CrossFit Games will be sold to someone else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what.
As soon as somebody else will take over, it's probably going to be changing.
Yeah, interesting.
So with Spartan races and with this sport potentially becoming a professional sport, how does that work? Like, is there a lot of sponsors involved? Can athletes live full time?
Yeah, it's funny that I was just listening to a podcast yesterday about this with the pro athletes saying that they're kind of racing to live now. If they don't get on the podium, they're not going to get their bonus from their sponsor, and they're not going to get paid. So no, there were some big sponsors like Reebok. Reebok were the main sponsor of Spartan. That seems to have dropped. They've just took on a new apparel line called Craft. I don't know if you've ever heard of Craft's.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So Craft are now partnered with Spartan.
Interesting.
And they have. It depends on the locations. Like a bit out here, like the gym partner with Spartan, they use Fitness First to do all their like workout tours and things.
Okay.
But that's kind of just. It's just masses, get the masses and do a big workout.
Is it a spectator-friendly sport? Can they make that? Because, I mean, isn't that like a huge part of it? Like, if it's a 20K race, they would need some serious covering. Like, I could imagine it would be quite exciting to watch if the media team that took care of it was, like, super pro. Could, like, switch cameras. Just, like, watching Tour de France can be actually super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
And that's, like, a 100K race every day or whatever.
Well, the media, they're getting better, definitely. They're trying to get on TV. Like, once it hits TV, that's when it's going to go big, right? Only the big races seem to be getting on TV, like the Spartan World Championships was on ESPN, I believe. And then, so the bigger ones, like championship races, they seem to have the best coverage. Like they had the Trifecta World Championships. I'll mention what Trifecta is in a moment.
Yeah, we got to go there.
So that was in Greece, in Sparta. So they actually held it in Sparta.
Nice.
Yeah, and they had guys on quad bikes, like one guy driving, one guy hanging off the back, like filming with a GoPro, that sort of to follow the elite guys. But you can't cover everything. You can only cover probably the top 10, top 10 male, top 10 female.
Well, that's what people want to watch as well.
Maybe they should just make that, right?
I think that's where, we keep on referring back to CrossFit, but I think it's a super nice comparison because it's very similar in a number of ways, but that's where CrossFit's been incredibly strong. The filming of the games and really getting to know people. Social media's played a big part of it. Maybe it's their downfall. Again, another subject completely. But it's enabled the public to get really close to these guys and to really see what's going on. And maybe that's the way. I mean, that's a great way. I would actually love to watch a 5K Spartan race with the elite athletes, because I've been at the races, but you can't get a feel for it because it's over 5K. So it's almost like watching a marathon or something on television, or a 10,000 meters around the track. You can see what's happening. It'd be awesome to see it, wouldn't it?
That's why Spartan tend to. I said about the gauntlet of obstacles at the end. They'll kind of do that, so it's a bit entertaining for the guys who are there as well. So the spectators have gone with their families or whatnot. They've got a boyfriend, girlfriend racing. You can actually see them doing the obstacles. You can see them failing, doing burpees, encourage them and support them. So it's kind of cool. Like, you will find at the end of a Spartan race, for instance, you'll have a big crowd coming in, like a crowd around the finishers, which is really, really cool.
That is cool. But that whole media side to it. You said ESPN have got it.
Yeah, they did. They've done one. They did one. Lake Tahoe Spartan World Championships last year. That was aired on there, but I think it was aired it wasn't live. It was like months later. They had another
live
thing.
Would be something else.
They had these game shows. They've just started. So obstacles now getting on the TV in the US.
Like Ninja Warrior.
You've got Ninja Warrior. That's an obstacle course style, isn't it? It's still a lot of obstacles. That's what they'll be classed as. But they've just introduced this new thing that's going to be aired on the 27th of March called 1 Minute Mile. Not 1 Minute Mile. $1 Million Mile.
Okay.
$1 Million Mile, and they've got. I don't know exactly yet. There's not been too much given away because it's not aired. But I'll be keeping an eye out for it. But it's. I think they've got some guys called the Defenders who are like the pro athletes, and they're basically protecting the $1 million. And they release a guy. Say if you went in and you competed, they'll release you. 2 minutes later, they'll release the Defender, and he's got to basically chase you down. And if you get to the end of that mile, you're getting $1 million, and he's got to stop you. So kind of cool. Yeah, so
sounds like a bullfight, doesn't it?
Sign me up.
Mate, talking of $1 million, I don't know if it was $1 million or £1 million, but we saw in the BBC towards the end of last year an English guy who had literally taken up obstacle course racing 18 months or a year before, was in line for taking home $1 million.
Yeah.
Talk to us about some of this cash, mate. Like, what's the story?
So yeah, John Alban, he's from a trail running, like sky running background. Lives actually in Norway.
Right.
I think he was born in the UK, then moved to Norway and basically lives there because he loves running in the mountains and seems to like cold weather. Should have stayed in the UK. But no, he. So Joe DeSena, coming back to the CEO of Spartan, basically said whoever can win Spartan World Championships, Trifecta World Championships, and then the Spartan Ultra World Championships, which is in Iceland, 24-hour endurance race. So he went to Tahoe, crushed it, won with ease. Like, doesn't even look like he's trying. Went to Trifecta World Championships, which is in Greece, so he had to complete all 3 of those races. So sprint, super beast, won them all. I believe, or got 3rd in one because he screwed up on the spear. And then went to Iceland, and they said if you do 100 miles and win the race, we'll give you $1 million. That was his $1 million race.
He did a 100-mile race.
He didn't win. So he got to 60 miles. They clearly just made the course ridiculously hard, which is easy to do. Just fill it with heavy carries, slow him down, put loads of carries in there. So that's what they did. He got to 60 miles, and they said, if you make it to 80, we'll give you 25 grand. He was like, no, I'm good. And he just dropped out because he was kind of done. I met him the week before in Malaysia. So he had to go to Malaysia to do the ultra there to even qualify for this race in Iceland, because you had to have completed an ultra to qualify for the world champ. Even though he's like the world champ, he still had to go and do an ultra to qualify.
Wow.
I met him there the week before. Had a chat with him about it, and there's another guy who's a close competitor, Ryan Atkins, Canadian guy. He's just like an ox. Like he's got a big Malamute dog, and he goes running in the mountains with his dog. And when the dog's tired, he carries it and uses that as his carry training.
Really?
It's really cool. Yeah, follow him. He's a guy to follow. Ryan Atkins.
What's his name?
Ryan Atkins.
Different level.
Yeah, him and his wife. They're like the OCR couple. Like she's best in the world, and he's like best, if not second best. Endurance wise, like long distance, he's the best in the world. He did 80 miles that day, and they give him $50,000 for say, well done, mate. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of money, and what's interesting about it, mate, is that it's Joe DeSena, it's the Spartan guys that are. They used to have a partnership with Reebok, but now they're essentially on their own and they're putting the money in.
Yeah, they seem to be, like they say, they're even designing now their own obstacle racing shoe. So Reebok brought out like a partnered up Spartan shoe with like drainage holes for the water and all that.
Yeah.
And then it was a great for water drainage, the shoe was, but then everything else, it was just terrible. Like the laces fell apart, the shoes fell apart. It wasn't a very good shoe.
Good old Reebok.
So now they're
nanos.
So now they've joined with Kraft, and now they're like going in it together to try and make the perfect obstacle racing shoe for Spartan with Kraft. Yeah, they've already got logoed up. There's a company called Ultra who actually make. You might have heard of Ultra. They're ALTRA. They make trail running shoes already. Zero drop stuff and all that big toe box.
Yeah. I've heard. Mate, one thing you said before is, I think it was Trifecta. Now, there's a lot of motivation goes into this, a lot of very good branding.
Yeah.
Talk us through sort of what you get when you finish a race and how it kind of explodes.
So, this is Trifectas for Spartan only. So, like I said, you've got the sprint, which is your short course, your shorter distance, super, and then beast, so a bit longer each one. And when you get your medal, at the back of your medal, you'll have a small triangular piece, which is like a third of a circle, red, blue, and green. And if you complete all 3 of them in the calendar year, that means you've completed your ×1 trifecta. And they all kind of merge together. They've got magnets in, and it goes together as one medal. Then if you do another one in the same calendar year, you get a ×2, and instead of getting the small pieces, they'll give you an additional medal which is slightly bigger, then slightly bigger, then slightly bigger, and as you go on. I think I did 4 last year, so you get like a medal that just says ×4 in it, and it's kind of big, like it's bigger than most medals. And then I think it was last year, some guy, his name's Hartley, from the US, he did ×23.
Wow.
23, yeah.
It's 23 races. That's one every other week.
23 trifectas.
23. So he's done
23 times 3.
69 races.
69 races. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He's got a medal, like a dinner plate. He's actually got a picture on his Instagram of him eating steak off his medal.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty aggressive. But, I mean, price-wise as well, let's jump into that, mate.
Yeah,
because that's a decent... So give us an idea of how much these races are to enter.
So, in Durham's, if you was to enter a sprint, if you was just to go in open race, just to do it for fun, you're talking around 300 dirhams-ish. If you're going to take it a bit more competitive and you want to enter age group or elite, you'll be talking more towards 500-600 dirhams for the competitive races. And then as the distance goes up, so does the price. So if you were doing a super, you're talking more around 400 for an open heat, and probably around 600 for an elite.
Decent money, huh?
Yeah.
How many can enter?
Well, until elite, I don't know what the cap is. Nobody knows. But they have at a race, I think out in Arabia, 2,000 to 3,000 people at each race.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And what's if you wanted to enter elite? Is there any prerequisites, mate? Or you just sort of enter as an elite?
No, you can enter, but then if you want to go to if you want to take it serious and go to championship races, then you do have to qualify. So if you want to qualify for the World Championship race in Lake Tahoe, you have to finish. Well, it used to be you have to finish top 10 in elite, but they've changed it this year, so now you have to finish top 10 in a championship race.
Right.
So that means we don't have a championship race. Well, we just had one a few weeks ago in Malaya. Yep. That was the Middle East Championship race, so you had to finish top 10 elite in that to qualify for the World Champs.
Right.
And then there's other things like in Europe and in Asia, you've got series races where you go to like 5 races, finish in the top 10, and you can also qualify.
So there's a system now bringing people through to World Championships, and you said before age group as well. So if we compare that to like Ironman, that's kind of the model that they've been using for a long time, which again motivates people.
Yeah, it works. I think it's the only thing that can work.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Mate, talk to us. You've obviously come on board here, and you are coaching people a little bit on the running side, but a lot also on grip classes every Wednesday morning.
Yeah, Wednesday
got that
mornings.
right? 6 o'clock. What would a grip class, like an hour of grip, what does it look like?
Probably a lot of ripped hands and walking out with forearms like Popeye.
Really?
That's how you feel. No, so what I'm trying to do with the grip class is, because obviously in a race you're not just going grip, and you are going to be tired when you get to these obstacles. So I'm trying to get people tired and then teaching them how to handle grip workouts and grip obstacles as such, things like the monkey bars downstairs. So like Wednesday's class, I included burpees. Every other station was burpees, just to tire them out a bit. Obviously it's great cardio as well.
How much do they love that? This sounds like everyone's worst nightmare, doesn't it? I'm going to rip my hands, and in between ripping my hands, I'm going to do burpees.
People keep coming. People are signing up.
but is there a knack, like stuff like that's very grip intense, mate? Like monkey bars, do you learn it, or is it just based on your grip?
No, obviously you do need to learn it. You would need some like specific sessions. A lot of it is technique.
Right.
Like if you come from a say CrossFit background, then you're probably going to be pretty alright on monkey bars, because you've been lifting weights for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you're a runner and you want to get into OCR, then you do probably need to do grip.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff that I would do is like getting used to, because not just monkey bars. Monkey bars is the basic grip obstacle in the Spartan race. You've got things like Twister, which is a bar with additional handles that is like a corkscrew all the way around, and it moves as you grab it. So that can be quite difficult. Like a lot of people don't complete it. So I'll try to get people used to using their grip, but actually like switching position of their hands, getting used to that, having that confidence of taking your hand off, moving it, and putting it in a different position, and knowing that you're not going to drop. And also building the confidence, because a lot of it is mindset. Like last weekend, the race, we had a Spartan race in LA Zoo, which was pretty cool. But just before I arrived at the monkey bars, the heavens opened up and it started hammering it down with rain. So then we've got the monkey bars have just got difficult. They were actually easy monkey bars, but they just got difficult because they're dripping in water. So building up that confidence in these classes, the grip classes, so people are confident in a race. A lot of the time in a race, people only get one attempt, and then it's burpees if you fail. Whereas here, at least we can actually train them. They get more than one attempt, and then when they come into a race, we're just a lot more confident when they actually have a go on the obstacle.
Do you think that's probably one of the biggest parts of it, mate? Of course, like the grip strength is definitely something, like the ability to lift a barbell or something, but we see it a lot, like the confidence just to go to an obstacle and I'm going to do it.
You
know what I mean?
Confidence is a huge thing in a race. Like, there's one thing I learned from an old coach of mine. It was before the race on my old online training, it would say race hard, race smart, and race with confidence. And the confidence thing is a massive thing. You've got to actually keep telling yourself that in your head as you're running. Like, be confident. Like, when you come up to this obstacle, you can do it. Even though you feel like physically you can't do it, you probably can. Especially if you train for it, you probably can. So it's just having that self-belief, really, during the race when everything else is going bad, and you come to an obstacle. you just go and do your burpees, or do you actually attempt it and believe you can complete it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Train hard, compete easy, right?
Yeah,
that's how it
train
goes.
hard, race easy. Yeah.
There must be a lot of visualization in this sport as well, like to visualize prior to doing an event.
Yeah,
if you know that something difficult is coming up, you can really like try to memorize it as many times as possible and watch yourself in third person or in first person doing it over and over, so that when it does arrive,
you do that. You do
exactly that,
yeah,
even though you're tired. And
the good thing about Spartan Race, they will release the course map before the race, so you get probably 2 to 3 days to actually have a look at the map, study it a bit, find out where obstacles are, and that's actually a good, like, especially if you're competing, it's going to help a lot knowing what is where. So then you can decide, okay, I'm not going to push, I'm going to hold off till here, and then when I've completed that, that's when I'm going to start to push. I do it a lot. I did it in Singapore. I found, I think it was the spear throw in Spartan was like 75% through the race. It was like, right, after that spear, that's when I'm going to put the hammer down, I'm going to go for it, and I'll ease up until there, and then when I get to that spear throw, that's it, then we're going all in, and because we know we're close to the race. So you can kind of say, oh, right, the bucket carry is obstacle number... out of 30 obstacles, it could be obstacle number 25. So, okay, I know I've only got 5 left, so I know I'm near the end. So you kind of picture, where am I going to start to push? Where am I in the race?
It makes sense.
Yeah. That's cool.
A lot of strategy.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool. And it's obviously what again we don't have in CrossFit is knowing what's coming.
Yeah.
But it does also make it that makes it exciting. But I think in this as well, it makes it super exciting that you sort of, and I think that's what will also motivate people to keep coming back. That they'll know, I'm doing the bucket at obstacle 20, blah, 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 and then I've probably got about 800 meters. I've been working on my running. I'm really going to back myself. I'm going to drop the pace there, and then it's raining and there's mud everywhere.
But
and then they're doing burpees. But I think the structure of it seems to be evolving in a way that's actually super cool and well organized to keep people quite motivated.
Yeah, so coming, as you say about that, so with Spartan Race, I keep talking about doing burpees when you fail an obstacle.
Yeah,
but, why? But with what they're trying to do in like OCR World Champs, and there's a race called Toughest Race that I mentioned earlier, but it was wrong. They have an elite lane, so they'll have 2 obstacles. They'll have a really difficult one for the elites, and a little bit more basic for the guys who are just running it for fun or actually just want to compete it, but it'll be longer. So their obstacle will be longer than what the elites are doing. So elites is nice and short, but really difficult. The guys who are running like open heat would be a long, or it might be 2 obstacles that you've got to do, like complete a rig or monkey bars, but then you've got to like 10 or 20 fences to climb over, and whereas the elite would just swing through like a really difficult rig and then off we'd go. They'd be a lot faster. So they're trying to slow the opens down. So that's a cool way. I think that's how they can standardise it when they go on for like championship races and things. And the goal, like everyone's chatting with OCR, is they're trying to get into the Olympics. They've been trying to. Joe DeSenda's been trying to get OCR in the Olympics.
Interesting.
Well, apparently breakdancing is going to go in soon. So if we can't get in, then
you be up for that, Dre?
What?
Very interesting. Well, I think that pretty much covers it. We're just past 40 minutes, and we don't want to keep you guys too long. But mate, I think it's super interesting, and we're obviously super happy to have you with us. There's massive crossover. That's why I think we've been comparing a lot between CrossFit and OCR. There's a lot of skills that complement each other, and I definitely think I'm seeing an increasing number of people in the mainline classes wanting to get over and do OCR races, and I'm pretty sure you see a lot of people doing OCR that would benefit from a little bit of CrossFit.
Yeah, so definitely. Like I say, the CrossFit and the grip, especially the grip side of it, you put up a lot of strength with that. So definitely
a lot of stuff. So folks, make sure you go and check George out over on Instagram, InnerFight OCR. He's over there posting a load of stuff, a load of information about it, and hop over to the show notes. We'll put links to all of that stuff that we spoke about. Rise of the Sufferfest of film is one you should definitely have a look at, and the Spartan site, I'll put a link over to that, and Joe DeSena's book. If you're I'm not really geeky on it, but I just found the story really interesting, and the death race I found quite interesting as well, and that he speaks about that quite well, and he's a smart, bullish
smart
American.
And he owns a mountain.
So he's a pretty good guy. But Andre, what do you reckon? You soon? Next thing?
That could definitely be something.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In?
Abu Dhabi, 3 weeks time, Abu Dhabi Stadium race.
Let's see.
George, Andre, thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care.